Hello, my name is Tanya. I make things. This week is all about patchwork. I'm going to tell you what I did this week, then I'm going to show you how I did it, and in the end I'm going to talk to you about why I love this type of craft and what I think about doing it more in the future. And so let's get into it. Last week I had to do a lot of traveling. I was in Moscow for several days and I've decided that I'm going to take a project with me. I was trying previously to take some drawing with me. I thought that if I have time, I'm going to spend it doing something creative. I was lying to myself and taking something that I wasn't inclined to do wasn't a good idea, even though I did do some drawing, but I didn't enjoy it as much as this thing. I've decided that I have recently finished a big quilt top, so I deserve a break, and I picked up a little bit of English paper piecing. I love English paper piecing. In fact, it's the thing that brought me into patchwork. I found a book that would teach me how to use little scraps of fabric, and I didn't need a machine. I didn't need anything fancy. I just needed some time and some patience, and I could make beautiful things. And so yes, English paper piecing is my one true love. So I come back to it every once in a while. And I picked up a ridiculous project because this can be easily done on a machine. I took my favorite Japanese fabrics and I've started to make them into 16 patches using the English paper piecing technique. I did it because it's very portable and it's very enjoyable, and the results are really satisfying because everything is so square and neat. And I know that all my blocks are going to be exactly the same. But it takes a lot of time. So I'm going to show you how it's done in case you don't know, and then I'm going to talk through English paper piecing and what I'm going to do with it and other things. So see you on the other end of the next clip. Just a quick look at English paper piecing for those of you who don't know what it is. We take little pieces of paper and little bits of fabric and we attach them together, usually by basting. In some way, glue basting. I prefer thread basting. There are different ways to do this. And then those pieces of paper are sewn together and you create a beautiful piece of patchwork. You can use this method to make very complex and difficult things that would be sometimes impossible to do on a machine. It's very portable, it's very precise, and in my opinion, it's a lot of fun. I like this way of doing things because I can take this thing anywhere and it doesn't involve a machine, and the result is always reliable, predictable, and beautiful, I think. So here's the way I do basting. I go through the paper. Some people don't. Some people just kind of catch the corners of fabric with thread, and this way the piece of paper stays inside, but it's not kind of sewn through. With this method, we have to take the threads out in the end with the paper, but I think that it's quick, it's good, and that's the way I first saw it in a book. And yes, I now do it very quickly. I have a little box where I keep all of my pieces, and when a piece is done, I can now attach it to another piece. And yeah, I was tempted to keep this whole thing in real life speed, but eventually decided to cut some things out and make things go faster. But yeah, I have to start from a corner, make sure that everything is aligned, and yeah, I need to actually work on making sure that I don't put too many stitches in this connection, because actually there's no tension on this seam when everything is done. If it's a quilt, in the end, then everything is quilted and nobody's going to pull on that seam ever. So it doesn't need to be too well made, so to speak. But yeah, I'm making everything to last for eternity. And in the end, we have two pieces connected. And now we can move on to the next step, which is more sewing. I'm making a 16 patch for a baby quilt, or possibly maybe even a big quilt. And in order to do that, I make rows of 4 and then I connect them, and I get a nice square in the end. I like playing with color, and these are Japanese fabrics. Their color palette is very muted, but at the same time I think it looks fun because all the colors are different. In the end, I'm going to have a very predictable, reliable square that is very square. It's very even. Everything is very neat. The seam allowances are all nicely folded. Everything is good. And for comparison, here's a regular 16 patch that I made on a machine. I wasn't being too careful with it, to be honest, but anyway, even if I'm trying to be very careful with my 16 patches on the machine, I cannot get to the same level of precision. Yes, so the edges are a bit crooked with the regular 16 patch, and I don't like this. Now, usually we don't use English paper piecing to make square things. The most common shape for English paper piecing is a hexagon. You can see it's easily recognizable. That's what you start with. And I'm not a fan of hexagons for some reason. It's cute, but it's not my favorite pattern. But I can make hexagons into those tumbling blocks, which are a lot of fun. And I used to make really small bags out of tumbling blocks. It was great. You can use tiniest scraps for this kind of project. My favorite pattern seems to be this, stars with the square blocks. And these squares are this size because I keep all of my paper patterns just in case I need to reuse them. Making them actually is a lot of work. And in the end, you have to take the pieces out. And I didn't take this one out. So let's do this now. I didn't film taking the pieces out because I'm not at that stage yet. So yeah, here's a little piece that I left in. So where was I? My plan for this thing, I want to make a baby quilt or maybe even a full-size quilt, but my intention was I just like the process of making those things. So I thought I'm going to make them and sell them. But the situation in the patchwork world in Russia is such that people don't charge a lot of money for patchwork and quilts. Sometimes you can buy a quilt for $100, and among the $100 quilts, not all of them are ugly. Some of them are sophisticated and they took a lot of work. I don't know why people charge so little for their work. So I don't think that I'm going to be able to charge the amount of money that I think is adequate for this type of work and successfully sell something in Russia. But it led me to another thing, that maybe I should just sell regular quilts and maybe get a little bit of money out of that. But it kind of spoiled the fun for me, because my original intention with those blocks was just to keep my hands busy and do something kind of productive while I'm recharging. And now the fun is kind of spoiled, because I think about the commercial side of things and, well, maybe I shouldn't do it this way. The only downside of English paper piecing as a method of making patchwork is that it takes a lot of time. I can easily make one a day, one of those 16 patches. If I'm trying really hard, when I'm really enthusiastic and I don't have a lot of work to do, I can make 2. But after that, my hands kind of get a little bit achy and I kind of lose interest, and I don't see the point of forcing myself through the project that's supposed to be purely enjoyable. So for a baby quilt that I kind of have planned in my head, and the plans always change, but for now I've started with the idea that I need 29 of those blocks. So optimistically it would take me a month to make. And if I was doing those blocks just on a regular sewing machine, it would take me, well, a couple days max, because making 16 patches is relatively easy. And the hardest part is cutting everything out precisely. So I don't see a lot of commercial potential in these English paper piecing quilts, but I have actually, surprisingly to myself, made a quilt top, a baby quilt top, in about 3 days this week, as I was working on these blocks. Let me show you. It's a carpenter star block that's just made out of very big pieces of fabric. I had kind of a set that I could use and it went together super fast. I'm very pleased. Originally I was going to make a big quilt, but then I thought it looks like a baby quilt, just the design. So I'm just going to keep it this way. I'm going to finish it in the next month probably and show you. It was really pleasurable. It took very little time, and this is something that I could sell. I wouldn't have to charge too much for it, even though I believe that I should charge more than those other people who don't charge anything for the work, because it's not fair. I'm an artist. I'm going to charge what I want. Yes, so that's this week's video. I hope that you're still here. Yeah, let me know what you think about charging $100 for a quilt. And I'll see you next week with something different.